Good afternoon. We're just waiting for people to join us. We're hopefully having one or two people coming on so we can share some ideas on Facebook. So if you're sitting there, just hang tight for another couple of minutes. Current time is 4:06. Let's give it another 2 minutes and I'll start at 4:08. And then people can just catch up when they get there. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is into the chat section, I'm going to put the link for participating in the actual Hangout. So that should, if you click on that link, that should take you to the Google Hangout to be able to participate and not only listen to the webinar. The idea is for more people to participate to make it effective. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the URL up on the screen to Notepad, and I will then, let me just get Notepad working. So give me more work. It's going to do Word. Right. I'm going to do a screen share of that Word document to give you the link to see if you want to participate. Start screen share. So there you should be seeing the Word document. So that link there will take you to participation should you want to participate. Right. If you have me back to where I was. Yeah. As I said, let's start. Let's kick off with the one viewer that we have. Right, I'm going to use a slideshow here to actually to help me through with the presentation. As I said earlier, the idea was to have it's quite interactive because I wanted to help law firms use Facebook in a better way and more effective way. Ideally, you want to generate business from the Facebook, and that's something that I grapple with, and know a lot of law firms out there are looking for the same positive outlook. Right. Yeah, just introductions. My name is Malcolm Pearson. I'm sure you realise that if you popped onto this Google Hangout. The idea is Facebook for law firms, and just really trying to understand what works or what will work for law firms in getting new likes from people on Facebook. Right, so I'm going to start the presentation off. If you have any questions, shout through the chat session, or if you want to email me. I'll keep an eye on my email as we go. And just to remind me, I'll just get my iPad up and running on email. Right. Off we go. Right, so Facebook for law firms. You know, I've said that many times already. Sometimes these presentation slides take a little bit of time to come up, but and also I must apologise for the fact that the whole slide comes up at once. Right, so just to kick off. So these are the stats that I've pulled up, and they're from September 2013. Note to self. 9.6 million users in South Africa of Facebook. And that's the biggest social media network that's available in South Africa at the moment. I think the next biggest, with 2 million less, is Mixit. Although I would say it's rather difficult to market through Mixit. But going on with Facebook, 2.8 million in Gauteng, 1.26 million in Western Cape, and 1 million in KwaZulu-Natal. So you can see there are a good couple of people waiting to actually interact with you there. So I think it's quite viable. And then 87% of those people are accessing Facebook via their mobile device. Something to remember, obviously, when you're posting huge graphics, is to spare thought for those people who are backing with mobile connectivity on small devices, unfortunately. Then 7.6 million are over 21. Most of the users on Facebook, and this is not just Africa, but this is in general, are between 25 and 40 years old. So you could see by that they're not teenagers, they're also not the people retiring, but basically those are the ones that you want to market to. Right, let's move on to the next slide. So finding other attorney sites, and why I think this is relevant is if you're going to be setting up a Facebook page and you want to find your prospects or have a look to see what other attorney firms are doing that might be successful, you can actually go and search through Google with that search criteria with the site facebook.com, and then basically the criteria you're looking at. So I said attorney South Africa if you want to see what other attorneys are doing in South Africa. But I mean, you could change that as being attorney Durban or attorney Johannesburg or whichever one you want to use there, to get an idea and to see what other attorneys are online on Facebook. Then stats as an infographic sort of gives you an idea of what is happening in Facebook, and that gives you a nice, if you're going to have a look at that link, you'll see the infographic on the breakdown of Facebook. Okay, so why social media? So I think most of the people that you talk to in marketing with law firms talk about referrals or word of mouth being their best new business generator. And so I mean, we all agree that word of mouth is obviously going to be top and the best. But I believe that social media is very much the same. So it gives you the same sort of new business effect. But what I think it's much quicker, obviously, because when you post something, it's immediate, it goes to those people. You don't need to wait for the people to see other people to socially interact with them, let's say over a fry. So that social media is just so much quicker to actually spread that word. Then it's huge in comparison. If you take the average people standing around and chatting, you have 4 or 5 people that are in a group that somebody will say something positive about your law firm. So if we look at social media and look at the networks that are involved, and not only your own network, but the people that you socialize with and their networks, etc., it just snowballs. So that's huge in comparison. And then online, I say it's better search engine food. We're talking about SEO, search engine optimization. So basically, the people like Google, Yahoo, and all of those, and Bing, those search engines look at your social media feeds like Facebook as additional feeds to your existing web page. And obviously that gives you extra mileage in the search engine side, people searching for you. Then something that is quite obvious is that it's cheaper than other media. You can spend a hell of a lot of money in social media if you contract people in to do it for you. It's just how big is your budget really as to how much you can spend. But in reality, really, most people actually either look after it themselves or have somebody in the staff who's looking after it, and it's not that expensive if you do it sort of on the side. Right, so the other thing about why Facebook is a social media, what I always say to people, or law firms, probably anybody in general, is that if they want to find out where their clientele is or where their prospects are, then they should first and approach their prospects or current clients and ask them where they exist. Are they on Facebook, or do they interact through Twitter, or do they use Instagram, do they use Pinterest? So the idea is for you to find out where the best place for you to interact via social media. And basically talking about Facebook today, so we're sort of going to concentrate on that. But with Facebook, what on a survey that was done, and this is quite recent, I think this is about March this year, for trends in Facebook to actually see what people were talking about, what popular topics there were. So when they spoke about added, they either got into a relationship or have just become engaged or have just got married. That was the #1 topic that was spoken about. Where people had travelled, pictures of where they'd been, and posted about it on Facebook. That was #2. Obviously people who had moved into different areas or different homes, etc. Then #4 was ending of a relationship or marriage type thing. So in a divorce, which to me makes sense for where attorneys should be speaking to them, especially family matter attorneys. Then whether there's a new member of the family, obviously whether they're babies, etc. That was #6. And then lost of a loved one, whether they have lost someone in the family or sending condolences, etc. That was #8 on the hot topics, and these were the 10 within the 10 top topics of trends. So my idea with Facebook pages, the idea is that I think that will entice people to get to a Facebook page. Everybody says nobody really goes to a Facebook page to like a page of an attorney firm. I believe that's true. But if the attorney firm is doing or giving them enticing content and interesting content, then they're going to come back. So these are the good ideas that I think that a Facebook page for a law firm should have. So get your, like I said earlier, have a look to see if your prospects are doing the Facebook pages through the Google search. See what they like, see what they enjoy, how they interact, what they interact with, and that sort of should give you an example of how you can interact with those people on your Facebook page. Be a helper. I know that's very difficult and goes against the billing idea, but you need to be a helper where you can give some advice, within reason. You're not going to give all your billing time away, but be a helper if you can. Then a conversation starter, and if you want to stand out and be unique, because slowly the whole social media platform is becoming saturated with everybody trying to promote their goods. But if you can be a conversation starter, that's where you're going to start standing out. I'll talk a bit more about that later. Then Facebook, the idea of your Facebook page needs to promote the people and not the business. So you're not promoting just the law firm as an entity, you're basically promoting the people and the services that you have in that law firm. And then if you want to know whether you can promote what you're offering, do the lounge test, something I heard about this morning from Mike Saunders, who's a very capable social media expert. If your content will pass a conversation your prospect will have in the lounge, then it's very much worth a shot in Facebook. So that's sort of the test. People are going to be discussing what you mentioned. That's how you're going to gain traction and get good interaction with Facebook. Reward active people on your page. So what that means is people who are active, who are liking your posts or commenting on your posts, who are sharing your information or whatever you're posting. For those people, you should reward, but I'm not saying that you should make it public on Facebook, but you should just say thanks to them with maybe a box of chocolates or maybe a phone call even. That's the idea. Support and be active in the charity. So I know just about everybody supports charity, but maybe get a little bit more active, and then actually have that offered or share that on Facebook so that people can see what you're up to. Also then the charity will then start promoting you on their sites as well. Survey or topic of the event or discussion. So at the moment, the Stories case, obviously you could actually have a comment here and there about that, but that's sort of very much overdone at the moment. But that's sort of the idea that I'm thinking along. Have a tab on your Facebook profile page that actually links to your services or to your website. The idea there is those tabs are always available when people have a look at your Facebook site page. So have a link that tells them about your services. Ideally, you want them to get through to your services of your web page to generate business. So that makes obvious sense. Then images and video are great for Facebook. You know, having text there is great. It means you're sharing and you're offering stuff on Facebook, but images just make that message that you're sending just stand out a lot more. Probably the better way of saying it, but in essence, you want it to stand out. And then videos are ultimately, if you can share videos, obviously of what you're doing on Facebook. Then try to make it a rule that if you do post a message or status, if you can with images always. Take them on virtual tours of places that you go but the public doesn't go. And the one that springs to mind is the deeds office. So if you can actually get pictures or a virtual sort of tour with a camera or maybe even a phone, just to give them an idea what the deeds office looks like. Might scare them to never have anything to do with conveyancing, but it's a nice way to share things that they don't normally get to see. Laws that change that could affect your readers or your Facebook friends. So if there's something changing, and maybe the example here is probably poppies. If there are things in poppy that you think that your readers should know about, and maybe post it on Facebook to give them a bit of a heads up, and that might spark a discussion. Tips on how to avoid illegal activity. And I saw something the other day that I thought was actually quite good. It was an attorney firm was speaking about being caught drunk driving, and you know what you need to ask the police if a man in that roadblock, and you know how you can actually ensure that either they're doing it correctly or if you have a legal leg to stand on afterwards. So that's one aspect. The other aspect was can the police arrest you at a roadblock for outstanding fines? And I thought that was also another nice topic. And that's stuff that the public, but basically your readers, would actually would want to see. I think it's interesting. And it's relevant to them, and it's based on legal, and that is your business law. Right, so the measurement, and I believe with all marketing efforts, if you cannot measure what you're doing on marketing, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Right, it would be nice to see who was viewing. I could actually chat to you. Right, and maybe just email me and I can see who's there, and we could talk about getting you to participate. At the moment, not a lot of people on. Right, so measurement Hootsuite is the one I use. It's a nice social media sort of publication tool and reading, consuming tool. Gives you various columns where you can use Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus all on the one desktop. But it also allows you to have graphs that you can Alright, so Facebook Insights is a sorry, I was just looking at the email that I just received, and I said I'll keep an eye on the email as I was going through. So your Facebook Insights is a nice way to see what's happening with your Facebook page, see your likes, how your topics that you're posting, your posts, how well they're being seen, communicated, shared, etc. And then YouTube Insights have the same thing, just a matter of interest. Then Google Analytics for your website. So the idea is if you are sending people from your social media through to your website, you want to be measuring it on your website side to make sure that you're counting or like I said, measuring the information, the people that are coming through from Facebook. So that's why I've mentioned the Google Analytics for your website. Alright, like I said earlier, if you don't manage it, then you shouldn't be doing it. So, why people like your page? So, I touched on this earlier, but your content needs to be informative, needs to be interesting, and it must be relevant to your business. My feeling, if you're going to have a Facebook page, it must be relevant to what you're doing as a business if you want people to interact with you to bring new business. Right, so people are also going to like your page if they find that you're helpful, that if you listen well, so if they're talking about something and you comment that gives them decent feedback or valuable feedback, then they're going to actually interact with you. And also, obviously, that they realize that you know what you're talking about. So if you have a Facebook page that's for a law firm and you're letting somebody post who has no idea about the law, you're not going to keep those followers for a very long time. Right, so content strategy, and this is obviously a good couple that I've had in the past anyway, but Mike Saunders this morning touched on these. I want to thank him if this ever gets back to him. Right, so defining your offered service. So you know what is it that you offer the reader that will entice them to be there. This is sort of content strategy more than just Facebook. Obviously, this will stretch to your blogs, etc. But basically, consider the market, which segment of the market are you targeting, then decide on the general topics, and so basically, what general topics is this market that you're looking at? What general topics are of interest to them? And like I mentioned earlier, it's probably poppy as a good one as an example. Develop a list of questions for each topic. You know what in those topics, what are the major questions that the market's asking or wondering about or debating? And then answer those questions. So your articles that you're generating or creating, or your communication, your posts, do they answer these questions in what you're posting? And then you need to ask yourself, with this effort that you're doing in Facebook, what sort of action or desired action are you expecting from this? Are you expecting that the people are going to click on a link that takes them somewhere? Are you expecting them to pick up the phone and phone you? Are you expecting them to actually just have a look at another article that's posted? But ideally, it's probably to take them through to your web page, and then you want to send them through to your services that you're offering in relation to what you just posted. So then what you do is that last point there is you restructure and insert those actions. So then you go back to look at your content that you've created and find out where there are areas that you can actually promote the actions so that you can get the person to take action from what you've posted. That sort of makes sense if you look at it, but the idea is to very much try and not force them, but promote the idea of the action if you want. Right, good Facebook page. Just to give you a bit of a heads up what I think a good Facebook page is. Page name. You should have named your Facebook page. I know that sounds pretty logical, but generally when you get a Facebook page, it's got an ID of, for example, 11796ABY, capital D, etc. After you have something like 25 likes, you can then name your Facebook page. So basically you're hoping that the page name is very close or made up of what your firm name is. Then check the post topics to check that your topics are in line with what your business services offer, and that you have a good couple of pictures that help describe what you are posting. The comments and interactions, and that's something I battle with in my Facebook pages, is the comments. You know, to post something and you get 1 or 2 likes, that's great. But you want to get interactions where people are actually commenting and discussing things that you're posting, or probably even better, that they're sharing what you're posting. So that's what I say. You know, the interactions need to be good. Likes, obviously, likes are good, but basically likes that are pulling a prospect client or prospect to you that's relevant to your business. Having people liking your Facebook page who are thousands of kilometers away, that are never going to use your firm for whatever you're promoting there, is sort of a waste of time. Tabs, spoke briefly about the tabs earlier, but the idea is with those tabs to promote your website, maybe your services on your website, or your profile of your lawyers and your law firm from those tabs. So you have one of your tabs that says view our services or view our lawyer profile, and that takes them to your website and opens the website for them to see what you have to offer. I believe that's quite valuable. Then a link to the website so that people can, at a click of a button, go straight to your website. Complete about page, and that's where I think a lot of people make mistakes. The about page is not completely pulled out. There's a lot of opportunity there to promote your web page and talk about your firm and get the keywords going. I haven't touched about the keywords, maybe chat about that later. Then your regular posts, so that you're not posting once every 4 months, 5 months. That you have a sort of a regular pattern of posting. If you're going to post only once a week, then that's fine, once a week. But I would say every 2 or 3 days there should be a post of relevant topic that should be coming through. Obviously not rubbish, because just posting for the sake of rubbish is just going to irritate your followers. Then keywords in the page information. Yeah, I did actually mention it there, but keywords that the same type of keywords that you're setting up for your web page, and I would assume that are pertinent to your law firm and how you promote your law firm and all marketing. Those keywords are in your page information as well, your mission and description, so that you basically get the mileage for the keywords that you are trying to use. And I didn't mention keywords in the content area earlier, but in your content you need to focus on what the keywords are that you want to be seen on the search engines for. So those need to actually be consistent throughout all your promotion of all your marketing. Right, there's the end of my slides. Right, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed. Sort of run through these notes that I've taken were basically there for me to remember to discuss things with whoever was participating on the webinar or Google Hangout. Unfortunately, nobody came in and participated. I've had one viewer viewing most of the presentation, so to the one viewer, one or two that popped on and popped off, thanks for your time. If there are any questions, please just email me, malcolmp@techforlaw.co.za, malcolmp@techforlaw.co.za. Sorry, I don't have a slide with all my particulars on, but basically all just grab me in the Google Plus phase on Tech for Law. Right, that's it. I think it's been more brief than I wanted it to be. Hopefully the next one will be more interactive and we get more perspectives from others. I really want to see Facebook start working for law firms, and this was step one. Thank you for your time.